there are 15 assets that are generating wealth. Debt to Credit is the online destination for aspiring multimillionaires, and large portion of our population is focused on getting rich. Welcome to our first video on YouTube. Therefore, we investigated the typical investment strategy of the wealthy. The emphasis here is not on financial matters. Instead, your financial security will depend on what you do with the money you're earning. Okay, you are in for a serious learning experience today. However, the bare essentials must come first now. Investments add to your wealth. Financial resources are lost when you have liabilities. The wealthier you are, the more of your assets are generating income for you. It's all very elementary, right? Now that we got that out of the way, here are 15 things the wealthy are buying that are only increasing their wealth. Number 1. Money is priority. Money in a bank account earns interest. Very elementary. Unfortunately, the interest offered by banks these days isn't even keeping up with inflation. Apple, the firm, has more than $200 billion in the bank. This begs the question, why do the wealthy hoard such large amounts of money in the bank? There are two primary explanations. The first is, obviously, the ability to take advantage of any given opening. But you lack the financial means to take advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. This is a major motivation for the wealthy to put money aside. A second factor is that they prefer cash transactions because of the higher rewards they provide. You can get better deals if you pay in cash, and you may also borrow money at exorbitant interest rates. P2P stands for person-to-person lending. If you're on a tight budget but are ready to take a chance, that is the best option. Numerous online venues provide access to P2P lending options. To put it simply, lending money involves receiving repayment plus interest. Interest rates on deposits at traditional banks are currently under 1%, whereas rates on P2P loans can range from 7% to as high as 15% to 20%. Keep a level head and remember that if anything seems too good to be true, it generally is. Second, properties. This is a major development. In our opinion, real estate is fascinating. But why? Because there are two explanations. Number 1, you receive rent money on a regular basis with no effort. Short-term rentals offer larger returns than typical leases thanks to technological advancements in the industry, but they are not as passive. Appreciation is the second argument. Despite the coronavirus epidemic, the number of people who need a place to live continues to rise. Real estate is one of the best investments one can make because to rising demand, property values are and always will be rising. You get access to a single apartment complex. Your tenants are paying rent every month. You have 2 office buildings that you rent out. You get paid while people work on your house. You have 3 commercial buildings where companies lease space to conduct business and pay you rent. A total of 4 acres of land, suitable for any number of uses. Critical in every way. You do not have any equity in the home you currently inhabit. This is a major flaw. It's a drain on your finances because maintaining it is costly, but it's not producing any income for you. Number 3 is bonds. Here's the Elite 5 style explanation. Bonds are financial instruments issued by governments or corporations when they need to raise money and then sold to investors. The bond buyer receives a monthly payment guaranteed by the government or the company. Bonds often have terms ranging from 1 month to 30 years. Almost all of these assets are backed by, making them extremely secure. However, you should know by now that low risk in business also means poor rewards. The average annual return on bonds is around 3%, which is greater than the returns offered by most banks but not enough to thrill a novice investor. At the maturity of the bond, the investor receives the initial investment back. Bonds can be purchased one of 2 ways, either directly from the Treasury Department or through a brokerage business. Number 4, stocks. Investors should not let the hype from Wall Street corporations scare them away. A stock is a simple and convenient way to acquire ownership in a publicly listed company. You would have 10% ownership if the company issued 10 million shares and you bought 1 million of them. With such low hurdles to entry, the average person can now invest in some of the most successful organizations operating today because to a remarkable development in financial instruments. This sort of share can be bought and invested in the stock market through a variety of available venues. Plus 500, eToro Trade, 24 Robinhood, Revolut, and so on are currently the most popular and trendy stock trading platforms. And by the way, we are not sponsored by these companies. Fifthly, invest in a mutual or index fund. In contrast to stocks, which allow you to acquire individual shares in a single firm, mutual funds and index funds pool together investments from a number of different companies, allowing you to invest in a broader sector of the economy. If this is so much superior, why is it? Having more options makes the investment less risky. Among all asset classes, index funds have the highest rate of success. Following is a list of the top 5 most widely held index funds: Vanguard's S&P 500 ETF, the S&P 500 ETF Trust, the S&P 500 SPDR, the iShares Core S&P 500 ETF, and the Large Cap Index are all excellent options. Individual stock purchases, as opposed to investing in a diversified portfolio like the S&P 500 Index Fund offered by Charles Schwab, carry a higher risk of failure. In other words, you won't be one of those miracle traders who consistently outperforms the market. You lack that information. competition, and it's really difficult to take on the industry giants. The solution lies in the use of index funds. The S&P 500 index ranks the 500 highest-grossing publicly traded companies in the United States. When a company drops out of the top 500, it is often replaced by another that has done even better. During the last 90 years, the S&P 500 has returned 9.8% annually on average. Of the 5 options presented, we recommend Vanguard the most. Any investor with a long-term goal of financial security should include index funds in their portfolio. Assuming you're keen on learning more about this topic, this is the perfect place to look. Tony shockingly wrote this book. The game that explains everything is called Money Master. Number 6 is tools. It's an asset if it brings in money or speeds up the process of making money. A tractor is a useful tool for any farmer. The portable computer is useful for programmers. As an Uber driver, you may make good use of your vehicle. Unless your income is directly related to the purchase of a car, it is not an asset but rather a liability, depending on whether or not the item in question has any bearing on your potential to generate wealth. The two are frequently confused with one another. The person tries to rationalize their poor financial management by calling it an asset because of poor impulse control. Watching videos on YouTube doesn't necessitate the most powerful laptop money can buy. Maybe we'll develop a video explaining the implications of current versus non-current assets in the future. On the other hand, for the time being, we're going with the basics. With such safeguards in place, businesses will need to pay to use your creation. In the event that they don't, you have the right to file a lawsuit against them. It's common knowledge that patents hold tremendous clout and economic value in the business world. All the best inventions have patent protection, and all it takes is one to make you rich. Here is a breakdown of the vast majority of the U.S. patents that were granted. Not only do small businesses rely on patents, but other companies that receives the most U.S. patents annually. Moving to number 7, trademarks. Trademarks provide a similar function to patents, protecting distinctive signs, words, and phrases from being used without permission. It's easy to see why this matters when discussing a company's logo or brand name, but this is where things really start to heat up. Owning a trademark that is well recognized and respected can lead to lucrative licensing agreements. In 1992, Michael Buffer trademarked the catchphrases you see on television, and his story is our all-time favorite. It's memorable and fun to listen to. You're familiar with the full enunciation, and every time it's spoken in a business context, you owe Michael a payment. He's profited nearly $400 million off of that one slogan since he trademarked it. Blue Ivy Carter is a name that Beyonce copyrighted before her daughter was even born to prevent it from being used in any kind of business. Trademarks can either be regional or worldwide, but trademark enforcement is a nightmare. A survey of U.S. businesses found that 1 in 5 claimed to have experienced IP theft from Chinese competitors. This is one of the key causes for China's rapid economic development. The total lack of respect for original work. Every year, China steals about $600 billion worth of intellectual property from the rest of the globe. But in any case, let's return to the sources of your wealth. Moving to number 8, reputation and recognition as a brand. While goodwill and brand recognition do differ slightly, both are extremely significant to a company's bottom line. A company's brand is the impression it makes on potential buyers' thoughts. The emotional attachment consumers have to your brand is a direct result of what it stands for and how it presents itself to the world. One possesses a brand. It's part of the firm's strategy to cultivate a certain public perception, people's appreciation for the company's existence, its contributions to the people, and the treatment it gives its customers all contribute to its goodwill. Although goodwill is difficult to build and maintain, its value can be so great that it can save a company from financial ruin. The power of branding alone has propelled certain organizations to the top of their industries. Number 9, until someone leaves, you can't really appreciate their worth as an employee. Unfortunately, only a small fraction of the population is aware that corporations do not exist in and of themselves. The only things that give firms their legitimacy in the eyes of the state beyond their names, concepts, and innovations is our own creative thinking. The thoughts of only one person can revolutionize a business. Consider the results after the departure of former Pepsi CEO Steve Jobs, almost destroying what is now the most beloved tech company in the world. To delve even deeper inside Apple, we learn that Johnny Ive, their principal product designer, created the devices that are in the hands of billions of people today. A corporation is only as good as the teams who work within it. Sometimes, established businesses buy up startups specifically to gain access to their talented employees. Certainly, we have a word for this phenomenon. The industry has a name for this service, acqui-hire. No employee should be indispensable, but the more difficult they are to replace, the greater their worth to the organization. Make sure they understand how much they are valued. Promote the appropriate like-minded individuals, and they will help you accumulate wealth. Number 11. Depending on the state of the market, the cost of basic goods and supplies might rise or fall significantly. If you're astute, you'll stock up when prices are low and cash out when demand is high. This is applicable to every aspect of existence. The cost of gold has risen by 278% in the past 15 years. Most of you probably won't be surprised to learn that we consider art to be a fantastic alternative asset class. Few realize that the arts have been performing better than the S&P 500 over the past 20 years. As a result, it's not surprising to see the ultra-rich shelling out exorbitant sums on works of art. While your car is draining your bank account, the world's richest people are investing in collectible classics that are rapidly increasing in value. This also applies to other types of collectibles, such as high-end wristwatches. Now, before you squander your entire savings on a vintage Rolex because you read a post on Quora claiming they're worth doubles with time, you may want to take a moment thinking about it. Never put money into something you have no idea how to value. It's a fundamental tenet of finance. If you disobey this rule, you will never become prosperous. 12. Media like books, songs, digital courses. Selling information is a fantastic business since there is no limit to the demand for it. Simply put, you just need to write the book once to make $1 million. The same holds true for any type of digital information product, whether it be a course, a music, or anything else. Making and selling such an asset raises not just the company's worth, but also has the potential to enrich its creators immensely. A fantastic illustration of this is the Gangnam Style. The number of people who have heard that song thanks to YouTube is well over 10 million. Consider licensing, merchandising, and other revenue streams. Mariah Carey's annual income from a single successful song is approximately $500,000. All I Want for Christmas Is You is a classic that everyone loves. She has grossed over $60 million because to that single song. Number 13 is royalties. Though we may have glossed over the importance of royalties in the preceding sections too quickly, an entire universe can be said to revolve around them. You, in the simplest terms, have written a book. This is fantastic. A production company is interested in purchasing the rights to adapt your novel into a television series. As compensation, you will receive a share of the earnings. We'll pretend that the show is Friends. You've already raked in a fortune. After 12 seasons, the show ends and you're already wealthy, but the good news keeps coming. The word for this practice is syndication. The time has arrived to allow numerous networks to air a popular TV show. Following in the footsteps of Friends, the original cast members of the show are raking in between $10 and $20 million a year thanks to reruns. What a crazy idea. The Big Bang Theory, one of the most recent smash hits, signed an exclusive multi-billion-dollar deal with HBO that will last until 2028. All aspects of your intellectual property are subject to royalties. George Lucas became a billionaire because to his royalties. They didn't give his idea of Star Wars much of a chance because they already knew it was doomed to fail. Fox let Lucas keep the licensing and merchandising rights instead of paying George $500,000 in director's fees. To cut a long story short, the movies were a smashing hit, and the toys and merchandise earned over $3 billion by 2011. Disney spent $4 billion on the Lucasfilms buyout, and it only took 6 years to repay that investment. That's a special number, right? It's important to note that an unfair competitive edge might be considered an asset in some situations. One such regulation is the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act in the United States, which authorizes indigenous people of the Americas to engage in any form of gambling that falls under the purview of the relevant state. If you have something that gives you an edge in the market, be it a specialized license or a more advantageous location, it is an asset. A second illustration is the Christian church. Every church is operated like a company in Eastern Europe since they are exempt from taxation. All of their merchandise and paid services are exempt from sales tax. The same can be said for museums and fraternal groups. First mover advantage and exclusive business models, which brings us to number 14. In the business world, innovation is always a plus. Apple's App Store is a prime example of this type of breakthrough technology. Novo's business model is based on microtransactions and video games. In recent years, Netflix has shifted its focus from providing high-quality DVDs to streaming instead, been considered a priceless asset by management. It provided a competitive advantage that allowed them to seize market share while their rivals sat on the sidelines. It took the lagging businesses a few years, but streaming services are now widely available. So it was with music as well. You once bought CDs, but now you only buy albums online. All you need to do now is subscribe to Spotify Premium or YouTube Red. With its innovative approach to short-term lodging rentals, Airbnb has shaken up the hotel business. Consequently, you should be sure to pack a bag for yourself. If you've watched this far, we're curious, which of these assets do you hope to acquire in the near future? We hope you found the film to be informative and entertaining, and we look forward to reading your feedback below. Those of you who are still with us will be pleased to know that we have a special treat in this video for you. Time, money, and opportunity has arrived. You won't learn this in business school, but if you pay attention, it could be the most important lesson you ever take away. As of right now, perhaps you don't have enough cash on hand to buy everything that was listed, but you do have something that can be sold for cash. You undoubtedly guessed from the subtitle that time was the topic at hand. Time, money, and time arbitrage is explained here. Exactly what does this imply? Simply put, time, money, and time arbitrage entails trading your time for the time of others. This is how you can make time work for you significantly better. We'll explain it step by step even though it sounds complicated at first. Listen up, because what you're about to hear is important. Your goal, in a nutshell, is to find ways to turn your spare time into cash. Since you've created an opening, you keep at it until you've saved up enough money to bring in help. You don't have to pay this person anything close to what you're making in order to justify the time you're saving. This is a basic principle in the business world. For this reason, every business employs workers. Everyone employed by a corporation creates more value for the business than they are paid, and the surplus is retained by the business. The term for this is profit. This gain is the payoff for cracking the time-money-time arbitrage conundrum. If you're first starting out in the business world, put in as much effort as possible in exchange for pay, and then figure out how to use this time-money arbitrage to create a sustainable enterprise. Every business owner is familiar with this approach, although few others are because they don't typically think like business owners. We are eager to hear your plans for its use now that you have it. Leave a comment saying I am a pro if you got this far and get the time, money, and time concept. No one else will understand what you mean. Remember to hit the like button and add me to your subscriptions so you don't miss any of my videos. These videos were also selected by my team, and we highly recommend them. The following step is to engage with us across YouTube or post your questions below. Our utmost appreciation, and I will see you in the next video.